urgent. The Golden State Warriors barely had time to celebrate their victory over the Houston Rockets, and they're already facing a new challenge. In less than 48 hours after one of the most grueling games of the season, Steph Curry's team will be back on the court to start the second round of the playoffs against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The clock doesn't stop, and the brutal schedule may have placed the Warriors dynasty on a collision course with its own physical limits. On Sunday night, Steph Curry played 46 minutes. Jimmy Butler, 45. For the Warriors starters played over 40 minutes. It was an epic battle, decided through sheer will, and with a very high cost. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves were at home, catching their breath, watching film, and preparing strategies in peace. They defeated the Los Angeles Lakers in 5 games and earned a valuable prize: 5 days of rest. This difference in the schedule is not just a curiosity, it's a silent weapon. In a scenario where players are at their limit, where injuries emerge with every impact, 48 hours or 5 days mean much more than the calendar suggests. They represent energy, preparation, endurance, and perhaps the fate of the series. The Golden State Warriors have faced many obstacles over the past decade. They've overcome historic rivals, lost key pieces, rebuilt parts of the roster, and continue to compete at a high level. But perhaps they've never faced a test like this, being forced to confront exhaustion without even a full day to recover. If you value the behind-the-scenes details that usually go unnoticed, leave a like now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications. Here, we don't just talk about the score, we decipher what's at stake, inside and outside the 4 lines. In the Chase Center locker rooms, the atmosphere after Game 7 was one of relief, but also of urgency. The coaching staff immediately began recovery protocols: ice baths, muscle therapies, video sessions in hyperbaric chambers, controlled nutrition, and generous use of icy hot, all to get the team back in minimal condition to compete, because there's no time, no room for error. And it wasn't just the normal wear and tear of a Game 7. The Warriors face a physical and emotional storm against Houston. Food poisoning circulating within the roster, injured thumbs, pelvic contusions at crucial moments, and a constant psychological discomfort of facing players like Dillon Brooks. It was a draining, intense, emotionally charged series, and the clock never stopped. On the other side, Minnesota smiles. Anthony Edwards' team had time to study every play of the Warriors, set defensive traps, and rest their legs. The Timberwolves' defense may not be as relentless as the Rockets, but it's more organized, athletic, and intelligent. And it has a familiar face who knows how to punish Golden State: Naz Reid. He doesn't impose physical contact like Steven Adams, but punishes in another way, with accurate three-pointers that demoralize. And against a tired team, this can be lethal. The pressure now falls on Steve Kerr. Knowing he can't overload Curry and Butler again in the early games, he will be forced to use a wider rotation. Gary Payton, too, if recovered, will be a vital addition. Jonathan Kuminga, who still hasn't fully established himself, might earn important minutes if the confidence returns. And Buddy Hield, a key player in Game 7, will need to replicate his performance, even though he's still recovering from hours of intense play, literally. But there's a silent map behind all of this. If the Warriors want any chance of resting the series, they'll need to win at least 2 of the first 5 games. Only then can they force a potential Game 6, the only point in the series with a 3-day break. 3 days that, for veterans like Curry, could make the difference between moving forward or collapsing. If they lose rhythm early, there may be no comeback, because time doesn't wait, and it doesn't forgive. The NBA will not slow down because of injuries, muscle pain, or cramps. The league moves on. The series will happen. And the Timberwolves arrive lighter, more rested, and better prepared. This may be the series where physicality speaks louder than talent, where fatigue could win over legacy. And this might be the series where the Warriors will have to prove, once again, that they are more than statistics, that they are made of resilience. But this time, maybe even that won't be enough. Now I want to know from you, can Golden State overcome this adversity? Or is this the season when time finally wins? Comment below. Share with anyone who loved the NBA and subscribe, because in the next video, we'll show how rest time became the most powerful hidden factor of the last playoffs. The series has barely started, but the race against the clock is already nearing its end. After an epic battle against the Houston Rockets, in which the Golden State Warriors had to stretch themselves to the limit, Steve Kerr's team now faces a new and merciless challenge, taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference semifinals. The Lakers defeated the hands of the Timberwolves, who wrapped up the series in just 5 games, gave Minnesota not only a well-deserved rest, but also valuable time to plan and adjust their strategy for this matchup. The Warriors, on the other hand, don't have that luxury. They barely have time to breathe. In less than 48 hours, the team will be back on the court, already dealing with the physical toll of a grueling Game 7. But this series has more layers than just physical fatigue and mental stress. There's an untold story that goes beyond stats and injuries, a story of a missed opportunity, of a choice the Warriors didn't make, one that might now come back to haunt the franchise. Picture the scene, the 2020 NBA Draft. The Golden State Warriors held the second overall pick, with a chance to shape the future of the franchise. That year, the Minnesota Timberwolves held the first pick and were on the clock. Who will become the future face of the team? The basketball world was buzzing, and everyone knew the decision was between 2 names. LaMelo Ball, a playmaker with elite vision, and Anthony Edwards, an explosive, athletic talent with potential to become the new face of the NBA. But as we all know, the Warriors had their eyes on someone else. Instead of looking at Edwards or Ball, they focused on James Wiseman, a physically imposing center with immense upside, seemingly the perfect piece to help rebuild their dynasty. What many don't know is that before making their pick, Minnesota persistently tried to trade with Golden State to acquire that second selection. And why not? With Edwards already in their sights, the Timberwolves wanted to trade down and gather more assets to build a competitive roster around him. They were seeking a deal, a chance to add depth without losing their star. That's where it got interesting. The Warriors, who already own Minnesota's 2021 pick, were open to talks, but there was one problem. The franchise was fully committed to Wiseman. There was no room for negotiation, and the chance to take Edwards slipped through their fingers as the team locked in on the big man. In 2024, NBA insider Brian Windhorst revealed that on the night of the draft, the Wolves were still trying to convince the Warriors to make the deal. But Steve Kerr and his staff were confident. Their trust was in Wiseman, the high-upside center who would make an immediate impact and anchor the next phase of the Warriors' run. And for a brief moment, it looked like the decision might work. Wiseman arrived with sky-high expectations, but the winds quickly turned. In his rookie season, he suffered a devastating knee injury that required surgery. From there, it was a downward spiral of trades, moving from Detroit to Indiana, and even to the Toronto Raptors before being waived. Wiseman never became the foundational piece the Warriors had envisioned. Meanwhile, Anthony Edwards evolved into exactly what many had predicted, and possibly more. Edwards' path was vastly different. By his second season, his talent was undeniable, and in the 2024-25 campaign, he emerged as one of the league's brightest young stars. Against the Warriors in the regular season, Edwards averaged 26 points per game, with deadly efficiency from beyond the arc. He was a constant threat to Golden State, who, despite winning most matchups, struggled to contain his presence. Now, heading into the playoffs, Edwards is more determined than ever to prove he was the right pick. The Timberwolves have their star, and the Warriors, who let him slip away, now have to figure out how to stop him. But the problem for Golden State isn't just Anthony Edwards, it's what this matchup represents. This is more than a playoff series. It's a living reminder of what could have been. If Wiseman had worked out, maybe today the Warriors would be the team with the brightest future, a dynasty reborn. Instead, they're left confronting a painful what-if, one that could end in a series loss to the very player they passed on. As the Timberwolves await Golden State, led by a Stephen Curry deep into the twilight of his career, finds itself not only facing a young, explosive team, but the consequences of its own past. Jonathan Kuminga, drafted with the 7th pick in 2021 via the Minnesota trade, is still fighting for a stable role in Kerr's rotation. In the series against Houston, Kuminga played in just 3 of the 7 games. His future in Golden State remains uncertain. On the flip side, the Timberwolves enter this series with an emotional edge that can't be underestimated. Anthony Edwards is ready to lead his team to the next level. He is the future of the league, and now is his time to shine on the biggest stage. Golden State may have the experience, the rings, and the pedigree, but they know this fight will be brutal. Not just against the talented Timberwolves, but against the weight of decisions that still linger. The Warriors need more than tactics. They need resilience. Every defensive stand against Edwards will be a reminder of what could have been, but also a chance to prove that their legacy transcends any one mistake. This is not just another game. It's a battle of philosophies, of choices, of losses, and what might still be gained. And in the end, the question lingers. Can the Warriors, burdened by the past, overcome the young star who could have been theirs? What do you think of this storyline full of twists? Drop your thoughts in the comments, leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Because in our next video, we'll break down how the Warriors can adjust their rotation and tactics to contain Edwards, and how that could shape the outcome of the NBA playoffs.